and everybody sort of hangs out there in leather. I think that you're supposed to regard the position.
For 25 years, one woman ran the most watched courtroom in America, and it wasn't a real one. Judith Sheindlin, known to the world as Judge Judy, built an empire out of a raised eyebrow and a flat, unimpressed stare. She scolded people who lied to her face, cut off excuses mid-sentence, and turned small claims disputes over unpaid rent and broken televisions into some of the highest-rated daytime television ever produced. She is 83 years old now. She is still working. And in 2026, more than 3 decades after she first sat behind a bench on camera, she was handed one of broadcasting's most prestigious honors, a Lifetime Achievement Award recognizing a career most people in television can only dream about. This is a story of how a Brooklyn-born family court prosecutor became one of the wealthiest and most enduring personalities in the history of American TV, and what her life actually looks like today. Judy was born Judith Susan Blum in Brooklyn, New York, in October 1942, to a Jewish family with German and Russian roots. Her father, Murray, was a dentist she adored. Her mother, Ethel, worked as an office manager and, by Judy's own account, was a practical, no-frills woman who didn't sugarcoat much of anything. It isn't hard to see where the courtroom persona came from. She graduated from James Madison High School in Brooklyn, then went on to American University in Washington, D.C., where she studied government. From there, she headed to New York Law School, earned her law degree, and passed the New York bar in the mid-1960s. Her first job out of law school was as a corporate attorney for a cosmetics company, a job she found completely uninspiring. She left it to raise her 2 children full-time, a role she later admitted didn't suit her either. By her own account, after several years at home, she felt bored and disengaged, and she wanted something more. That something more arrived in 1972, when a friend told her about an opening for a prosecutor in New York's family court. It turned out to be exactly the fit she'd been missing. She found her footing and her voice inside a courtroom dealing with some of the hardest cases the legal system sees: child abuse, neglect, and domestic violence. A decade later, in 1982, New York Mayor Ed Koch noticed her sharp, direct style and appointed her a judge in the criminal court. For years after that, she became the supervising judge of Manhattan's family court, a post she held for years, hearing more than 20,000 cases over the course of her legal career. She earned a reputation as tough, a label she has said she never loved but never denied fitting, either. In 1993, the Los Angeles Times ran a profile on her, and it caught fire. A segment on CBS's 60 Minutes followed, introducing her sharp tongue to a national audience. The attention led to her first book, Don't Pee on My Leg and Tell Me It's Raining, published in 1996, the same year she retired from a family court bench after 2 decades on the job. But retirement from the courtroom wasn't retirement from work. A year earlier, in 1995, she'd been offered the chance to host her own televised courtroom show, using real small claims cases with binding arbitration instead of scripted drama. Judge Judy premiered on September 16, 1996, and it changed daytime television. She brought her real-life bailiff from family court, Petrie Bird, along with her. He would go on to become the longest-serving bailiff in the history of courtroom television. The show pulled in 9 to 10 million viewers a day at its peak, regularly outperforming even the Oprah Winfrey Show. And from 2009 until it ended in 2021, Judge Judy was the #1 program in all of daytime television. A 2013 Reader's Digest poll found that Americans trusted her more than they trusted all 9 justices of the U.S. Supreme Court combined. She became a certified piece of pop culture, parodied on Saturday Night Live, referenced on The Simpsons and Will and Grace, and named one of VH1's 200 greatest pop culture icons. Part of the appeal, according to people who studied the show, was how little patience she had for nonsense. Commentators have noted that audiences weren't tuning in for nuanced legal debate. They wanted to watch someone in charge cut straight through excuses and hold people accountable in real time, and that's precisely what she delivered week after week for a quarter century. She didn't win a daytime Emmy for the show until 2013, 14 years after it premiered, a weight she joked about publicly, quipping that people had to choose between an award and a job, and she'd clearly chosen the job. Once the Emmys started coming, though, they kept coming. She won again in 2016 and 2017, and in 2015 she was entered into the Guinness World Records as the longest-serving television arbitrator in history. Her media presence stretched well beyond the courtroom set. She appeared on Entertainment Tonight, Larry King Live, Good Morning America, and The Wendy Williams Show over the years, and in 1998 she surprised audiences by walking onto Saturday Night Live mid-sketch during a parody of her own show, a moment that demonstrated she could laugh at herself as easily as she scolded litigants. That same year, she made a cameo appearance in a TV movie, playing herself in a courtroom scene, and in 1999, she served as a judge for the Miss America pageant. A 1-hour documentary about her life aired in 2000, and she gave lengthy interviews over the following decade, including a 2013 sit-down with Katie Couric that covered new details about her time as a family court judge. The show made her one of the richest women in entertainment. By 2007, her net worth had climbed to roughly $95 million. Her salary kept climbing too. By 2011, she was earning $47 million a year under a new CBS contract, and because she only filmed 52 days annually, that worked out to something like $900,000 for every day she showed up to work. In 2018, Forbes named her the highest-paid television host on the planet. Some of that fortune came from a landmark deal. In 2017, she sold the rights to her back catalog of Judge Judy episodes, more than 5,200 of them, to CBS for a reported $100 million. When people questioned the size of her paycheck over the years, she had a simple response. There have been multiple hosts of the People's Court. The Tonight Show has had several hosts, but there was only ever one Lucille Ball, and she saw herself the same way, as a singular, irreplaceable draw of her show, not an interchangeable piece of it. By 2026, estimates of her net worth vary depending on the source, but they consistently land somewhere between $420 million and $580 million, with a real estate portfolio worth well over $100 million on top of that. She and her husband own multiple properties, a waterfront estate in Naples, Florida that serves as their primary residence, a 9-bedroom manor on more than 12 acres in Greenwich, Connecticut, a mansion in Newport, Rhode Island, and additional homes in Beverly Hills and Manhattan. Reports over the years have also pointed to a private jet she uses to move between those homes, and a small fleet of Bentleys. Along the way, she also built her own production infrastructure, rather than simply staying an on-air talent for hire. In 2014, she founded Queen Bee Productions and used it to launch Hot Bench, a courtroom show built around a panel of 3 arbitrators instead of 1. She said the idea came from a trip to Ireland with Jerry, where they visited a courthouse and watched a 3-judge panel hear a case, an experience she found both interesting and, in her words, compelling enough to build a show around. The panel has changed a bit over the years, with different attorneys rotating to the 3 seats, but the format has held steady and profitable for more than a decade. She's also written multiple books beyond her 1996 debut, including What Would Judy Say?, a grown-up guide to living together, and its follow-up, What Would Judy Say? Be the hero of your own story, both blending personal anecdotes with the same blunt advice that made her famous on television. Judge Judy wrapped its 25th and final season in 2021, with the last episode airing that July. But Shineland made clear well before the finale that she wasn't stepping away from the courtroom. She was starting something new. Judy Justice premiered on November 1st, 2021, first on IMDb TV, then Amazon Freevee, and it made history as the first courtroom show to launch exclusively on a streaming platform. It later moved under the Prime Video umbrella after Freevee was folded into that service in 2025. The new show came with a different look, a different color robe, an updated set, longer episodes focused on single cases, and a new face alongside her. Her granddaughter, Sarah Rose, who joined as a law clerk. One of the bigger surprises for longtime fans was the absence of Petrie Bird, her bailiff of more than 2 decades. He wasn't part of Judy Justice, and by his own account, he learned about the change without much of a heads-up from Shineland directly, which left him confused and disappointed at the time. He didn't stay bitter about it, though. He later said he held no grudge, and in 2022, he joined another Shineland-produced series, Tribunal Justice, alongside her son, Adam Levy. Judy Justice went on to win a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Legal/Courtroom Program, making Shineland the only television arbitrator ever to win that award for 2 different courtroom shows. Here's where the sad decline narrative really falls apart. Shineland has never stopped launching new projects, and 2025 and 2026 have arguably been some of her busiest years yet. In July 2025, she released Justice on Trial on Prime Video, an 8-episode series digging into major legal cases that shaped American law, mixing courtroom recreation with the kind of blunt commentary she's known for. She created and produced it herself, and told reporters she wanted viewers to walk away from it a little smarter. She also remains producer on Hot Bench, the 3-judge courtroom show she created in 2014 after watching a panel format in an Irish courtroom with her husband. As of 2026, Hot Bench is in its 12th season, still airing on CBS. And in early 2026, CBS announced a new addition to the family business, Adam's Law, a courtroom series starring her son, Adam Levy, a former Putnam County district attorney who had already been appearing on Tribunal Justice. Shineland, now 83, is serving as an executive producer on the show, which is set to debut as part of CBS's 2026 to 2027 broadcast season. The head of CBS Media Ventures, which distributes her programming. Put it simply, there's never been another Oprah, and there will never be another Judge Judy. On top of all of that, in January 2026, the Broadcasters Foundation of America announced it would give her its Edward F. McLaughlin Lifetime Achievement Award, an honor presented annually to someone who has made an outsized contribution to the broadcast industry. She received it at a gala at the Plaza Hotel in New York on March 9, 2026. One more entry in a long list of honors that already included a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, an induction into Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame, the Gracie Allen Tribute Award from American Women in Radio and Television, the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award, and a Lifetime Achievement Emmy she received back in 2019. The president of the Broadcasters Foundation, in announcing the award, put it plainly. Her blunt, no-nonsense approach to resolving disputes had entertained millions of Americans for decades, and the industry wanted to formally recognize just how much she contributed to it. For a woman who didn't step in front of the camera until she was 52 years old, it's a remarkable amount of hardware to collect in a second-act career, one that, by 2026, has now run longer than most people's entire working lives. Shineland's personal life has had its share of turbulence, but by 2026, the through line is stability, not sadness. Her first marriage, to attorney Ronald Levy in 1964, produced 2 children, Jamie and Adam, and lasted 12 years before ending in divorce. Judy has said plainly that the marriage cracked under the weight of Ronald treating her return to work as something less than a real career, a resentment that eventually became too much to bridge. Her second marriage, to fellow attorney and later judge Jerry Shineland, began in 1977, and it's the one that's defined most of her adult life. It hasn't been uninterrupted. The couple divorced briefly in 1990, during a period when Judy was grieving her father's death and felt Jerry couldn't meet her where she needed emotional support. They remarried the following year after both realized the separation had been a mistake, and by their own accounts, they've stayed married ever since, now well over 3 decades on the second try. Jerry, who turned 90 in recent years, has talked about the plain, low-drama approach that's kept the marriage running, not spending every waking hour together, and choosing to age gracefully rather than giving up on staying fit for each other. Judy has echoed that sentiment in interviews, saying she made a deliberate choice not to let herself go as the decades passed, and that she'd rather work at staying fit than simply accept getting older passively. When she's been asked what actually keeps a marriage together over that many years, her answer tends to be refreshingly unromantic. Men want to be fed, given some attention, and left alone often enough to have their own space. And if you manage that balance, things tend to work out. Jerry, for his part, has never seemed bothered about being the lesser-known half of the couple. He said publicly that he's always believed there's a strong man standing behind every strong woman, and he was happy to be that man while Judy built her empire. Their support has gone both directions. When Jerry later got the chance to join the People's Court as an arbitrator in the late 1990s, it was Judy who encouraged